Welcome to Elevating Charlotte, the podcast where we explore economic development, business growth, and opportunities right here in Charlotte County. I'm Maria, your host, and today we have a special guest, Mark Odell, our Business Retention and Expansion Manager. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Maria. Excited to be here and talk about something that's a game changer for local businesses, the reverse trade show.
Mark, let's get right into it. The term reverse trade show sounds intriguing. What exactly is it?
Great question. Unlike a traditional trade show where vendors set up booths and wait for potential clients to visit, a reverse trade show flips the script. Government agencies and institutions of all levels in our 7-county region are the ones at the booths, while small businesses and suppliers walk around and connect with decision makers.
That sounds like a golden opportunity for local businesses. Instead of chasing leads, they get direct access to buyers who are actually looking for services and products.
Exactly. It removes barriers and makes networking efficient. If you want to do business with the counties, school district, sheriffs, or other large organizations, this is your chance to skip the cold calls and get straight to the right people. Traditional trade shows generate over $13 billion annually in business deals. But what if the entire model is backwards? Today's story reveals how flipping one basic assumption is revolutionizing how small businesses access major contracts.
That's such an interesting premise. How exactly does turning the trade show model upside down change things?
Well, imagine this. Instead of small businesses desperately competing for attention with fancy booths and free pens, major organizations like government agencies and prime contractors are the ones setting up booths. The small businesses get to be the ones walking around, choosing who to talk to.
Hmm. So it's like reversing the power dynamic completely. That must change the whole atmosphere of these events.
You know what's fascinating? Studies show that traditional trade shows have only a 1 to 2% conversion rate for new business relationships. But these reverse shows are reporting connection rates above 30% because every conversation is pre-qualified.
Those numbers are incredible. What makes such a dramatic difference in the success rate?
Well, it comes down to intentionality. In traditional shows, vendors might talk to hundreds of people with maybe 5 being actual prospects. But in this format, every conversation is with a decision maker who has an actual budget and specific needs.
So it's like the difference between speed dating and having a matchmaker set you up with carefully selected candidates.
Exactly. And here's what's really interesting. Research shows that face-to-face meetings are 34 times more successful than email for getting business deals done. These events essentially compress months of outreach into a single day.
That makes me think about all the time and resources small businesses usually waste trying to get through to the right people.
And that's particularly crucial for government contracting. Did you know that less than 2% of small businesses successfully navigate the traditional government procurement process? These events are creating direct pathways that bypass all that bureaucracy.
Oh, wow. Speaking of government contracts, what kind of opportunities are we typically talking about here?
The numbers are pretty staggering. Just looking at local government contracts, we're talking about opportunities ranging from $10,000 maintenance contracts to multi-million dollar construction projects. And that's not even counting the private sector opportunities.
That's huge for small businesses looking to scale up. How do they prepare for these opportunities? Well, the most successful businesses treat it like a strategic mission. They create what's called a capabilities statement, essentially a one-page business resume that highlights past performance, certifications, and specific value propositions. You know what this reminds me of? It's similar to how some tech companies are now doing reverse job fairs, where employers pitch to potential employees instead of the other way around.
That's such an interesting parallel. And like those reverse job fairs, these events are showing impressive results. Data suggests that businesses participating in these reverse trade shows are 40% more likely to secure a major contract within 6 months.
The economic ripple effects must be significant for local communities.
Oh, absolutely. And here's where it gets really interesting. For every $100,000 in new contracts, studies show these small businesses typically hire 2 to 3 new employees and often partner with 4 to 5 other local businesses to fulfill the work.
So it's creating this network effect of economic growth. What about the long-term success rate?
The statistics are pretty compelling. Around 65% of businesses that secure contracts through these events end up getting repeat business within 18 months. It's creating sustainable growth patterns, not just one-off opportunities.
That's fascinating. It's really about building relationships rather than just making sales.
And you know what's particularly interesting? The format is now being adapted for other sectors. Educational institutions are using it to connect with industry partners, and nonprofits are using it to match with corporate sponsors.
Sounds like we might be seeing the end of traditional trade shows as we know them.
Well, here's the thing. It's not about completely replacing the traditional model, but rather recognizing that different formats serve different purposes. The key insight is that sometimes the most effective solution is to question our basic assumptions about how things should work.
That's really the heart of innovation, isn't it? Looking at familiar challenges from completely new angles.
Exactly. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson here. Sometimes the most powerful changes don't come from adding complexity, but from simply flipping our perspective and asking, what if we did this differently? The reverse trade show is a perfect example of how rethinking the traditional model can lead to more meaningful connections, better opportunities, and real economic impact. It's about working smarter, not harder, and making sure small businesses get the access they need to grow and thrive.
Mark, this has been such an insightful conversation. It's clear that the Reverse Trade Show isn't just another networking event, it's a real game changer for local businesses, making it easier to connect with decision makers, secure contracts, and ultimately grow. For small businesses in Charlotte County, this is a golden opportunity to skip the cold calls and get straight to the right people. And as we've heard today, the results speak for themselves. Mark, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your expertise.
Thanks, Maria. Always a pleasure to talk about ways we can help local businesses thrive.
And thank you to all our listeners for tuning in to Elevating Charlotte. If you found today's discussion valuable, be sure to subscribe and share this episode with fellow business owners. Until next time, keep thinking big and seizing opportunities here in Charlotte County. That's what it's all about. Mark, thank you for sharing these insights. And to our listeners, mark your calendars, bring your best pitch, and take advantage of this event.
Absolutely. And if you're attending the Reverse Trade Show in Naples on April 3rd, be sure to join me for a special talk where I'll be sharing insights on how to maximize your opportunities and secure valuable contracts. Looking forward